Have you ever wondered why the sound of a 10-minute intricate mellotron keyboard solo or the sight of a guitarist shifting energetically between a double-neck Gibson EDS 1275 guitar can bring grown men to tears? And this is all down to a phenomenon called progressive rock. Now with this channel, I want to be taking a closer look into the genre to discover three things. Number one, what progressive rock, or prog for short, actually is. 2. Who are the leading bands in this genre? And 3. What are the advantages and benefits of this particular style of music? Now the focus for this channel is for people who've heard about progressive rock or prog and either want to find out what it's all about or to know more about the bands and the music. It will suit newbies and seasoned fans alike. And I will explain using simple, common language. So to begin with, let's try to explain exactly what is prog. Prog rock first emerged in the late 1960s, largely in the UK, during the time when boundaries of rock music were expanding. This was an era of immense musical experimentation, with bands and artists influenced by the cultural revolution of the 1960s, the advent of new technology, and a general desire to break free from the standard, radio-friendly formulas that dominated pop music at the time. Now, musicians began to incorporate influences from genres that had rarely, if ever, intersected with rock music before. Things like classical music, jazz, and avant-garde experimental sounds. The result was a genre that sought to elevate rock to new levels of artistic and technical sophistication. One of the defining features of prog rock is its complex song structures, where prog bands begin to create much longer compositions, often with multiple movements, much like a classical symphony. Songs could be 10, 15, or even 20 minutes long, taking listeners on a journey through different moods, tempos, and musical themes. Musicians in prog bands were typically highly skilled on their instruments, with some having formal training in classical or jazz traditions. They weren't content just to play simple riffs or solos. They wanted to push their abilities to the limit. Another hallmark of prog rock is the concept album. Rather than simply writing a collection of unrelated songs, many bands crafted albums that followed a particular theme or told a story. These albums would explore complex ideas, anything from science fiction and fantasy to philosophy or social issues. The lyrics were often abstract or symbolic, inviting listeners to dive deeper into the meanings for the songs. For example, Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon is often cited as a prime example of a concept album, exploring themes like mental illness, conflict, and the passage of time, all wrapped in a cohesive musical and lyrical narrative. Now, what makes prog rock especially fascinating is its blend of genres. Prog musicians didn't see rock as a limitation, but as a foundation they could build upon. They borrowed from the precision and structure of classical music, adding complex time signatures, orchestration, and even full orchestral arrangements. From jazz, they took improvisation, syncopation, and an emphasis on technical proficiency, especially in rhythm sections. Some also dabbled in experimental and avant-garde sounds, incorporating electronic effects, tape loops, and unconventional instruments. Now, the result of all this was a musical tapestry that was rich and varied, constantly surprising the listener with unexpected twists and turns. Now, in short, prog rock is a genre defined by its ambition. It's music that refuses to fit into neat, conventional boxes. But by blending different styles, stretching the limits of musicianship, and tackling ambitious themes, prog rock sought to elevate the rock genre into something much more sophisticated and intellectually engaging. It is a genre that challenges the listener to actively engage with the music, to appreciate its complexity and to think deeply about its themes, and what makes it so enduring to beloved fans today. Now, who were the leading exponents, the bands and the musicians we set about following? There were a big six of bands that went on to dominate the genre, and these will be featured in upcoming videos over the next few days. But essentially the likes of Yes, Genesis, Jethro Tull, Pink Floyd, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and King Crimson made up that number. Now, these are often considered the big six because each played a pioneering role in shaping the genre. bringing their own distinctive contributions that pushed the boundaries of rock into the 1970s. But more of that in upcoming videos. So the questions that are often asked are, what are the advantages and benefits of this particular style of music? Well, for musicians, it allowed for a creative freedom that blended the elements from classical music, jazz and experimental genres, as we suggested. Now, this led to complex, intricate compositions that pushed the boundaries of traditional rock to the limits. For listeners, though, PROG provided a rich and immersive listening experience that featured those longer songs, unconventional time signatures, and themes that created such great depths. This style encouraged active listening and often explored philosophical fantasy or sci-fi themes that appealed to those who really appreciated intellectual and artistic depths to their music. Now, in some circumstances, prog can be considered dull and repetitive, but in the next video here, I will be explaining to you some of the mistakes and misconceptions made when you first start to listen to this wonderful style of music.